Hey folks, Sam here. Well, Monday morning. Everything for the weekend was a rough weekend, but it all worked out good. We got all 745 trees are all in the ground. We have most of the miracle tubes on. Today it's raining. Probably not as hard as a cow pissing on a flat rock, but maybe as hard as a dog squirting on a fire hydrant, but which is really good. Because like I said, we got it all in. I thought I was going to water today. I got to get the watering system all going, but we're supposed to get a long, soaking, wet, just all day rain. So that's perfect. So I'll probably spend the rest of the day in the shop, making cages for around the maple trees and some of the other stuff, and making some weed barriers to put around some of the trees, and it's all good. So I got a lot of dirt moved this weekend. I had to cut that short. I wanted to get more done, and I thought maybe I'd plant trees in the rain today. And just because moving the sand out from the sand piles gets pretty muddy, and I thought I want to get it done, but this slowed me down. Yep. Put the payloader in the pond. So, yeah, how did that happen? Well, so it's an older payloader, and it's been running for pretty hard for the last about the last 4 or 5 days. And it's got a pretty small hydraulic reservoir. I mean, the rams are filled up, but it needs a couple gallons, and it was starting to make a weird noise when I got everything all the way to the top and I was dumping, and I was like, I probably need to put a little bit of hydraulic oil in it. So the tank is like right here by the seat. I went to open the cap, and the cap's on there tight as shit, and I can't move it. So I was like, I kind of bitched to my son under my breath, like, why do we got to put shit on so tight when it doesn't have to be that way? So I was like, my pickup's right here. I was just going to jump out, and so I put the bucket down on top of the dirt that was in the dump truck, shut the payloader off. Thank God it was off. I hardly ever shut it off when I get in and out. Jumped out of it, ran over to my truck, and turned around. Shit, she was heading for the pond. Splash! Had it out in like less than 5 minutes. I took the picture, pulled my clothes off, jumped in, hooked the chain on, hooked it to my dump truck, pulled it out. But it ended up being super, super, super freaking expensive. Not because of the payloader going in the pond, but because my wife, she's texting me at the time, and I don't want to call her, and I don't want to get into anything. I got to get this thing out of the pond. And so I took that picture and I sent it to her, and I'm like, I got my own problems. Well, then I was in the pond hooking the chain up to the payloader, and I wasn't answering my phone, and she's calling me, and she thinks I might be hurt. So she comes out there, and about the time she's pulling up, I got the payloader out of the pond, and she's overlooking the hill. She's up on the hill overlooking the pond and all the shit I got going on. And so I get it all out, and she's like, are you sure you're all right? I'm like, I wasn't even in it. And she's like, maybe you shouldn't be down here working by yourself and all of that shit. So then she leaves. That night we're eating supper, and she goes, I sat up on top of that hill overlooking the pond and everything, and I think I really want to build a house there. So yeah, that's going to freaking cost me like $250,000. But anywho, that's how my weekend went. Hope you guys had a good weekend. Hope things are good. Things are really going together on Epic Acres. Like I said, today is a rain day. Probably need it. You realize how old you are when you're jumping up and down out of machines and planting trees and everything else, and no spring chicken. So taking a break today, and we'll let you know how it goes. See ya.